I've been trying to explore and recreate early barrel making techniques, and I've been doing an awful job at it. It's been failure after failure, and this little fella is all we've got to show for our hard work. We've been doing all our attempts with mild steel, because that's what we've got on the steel rack. But that isn't very authentic, is it? Mild steel wasn't around in the 1700s, wrought iron was. I've been having tremendous difficulty welding our mild steel barrels. Forge welding mild steel isn't impossible. I've done it plenty of times before. This just happens to be a really complicated forge weld. But you see, forge welding mild steel is meant to be that much harder than forge welding wrought iron. Now, since it hasn't been made for probably 100 years, I can't run to my steel supplier and order wrought iron, but my friends at Holcomb Forge recently did a restoration at Norwich Castle, and this right here is a hunk of supposedly wrought iron that was holding up some walls from collapsing and was installed in the 1800s. I hope it's wrought iron. Let's see if it really is, and hopefully then have some success with some barrel welding. Look at that. Any other day I'd say this was catastrophic. Look at that nasty thing over here. What's this? What's that line through there? Oh, there's holes all over it. That's a good thing.
Is it opposite day today?
No. What do I mean, yes? That leaves me pretty confident this is wrought iron. The reason being, wrought iron is made through forging and folding and forging and folding and re-welding steps, and often includes some nasty stuff down the grain, which is why in episode 1 I told you that wrought iron was, I said it wrong, I said anisotropic in nature, based on the fact that in one direction it has a very different characteristic to another direction, like wood grain.
In nature? What, is it just growing on a tree or something?
Did I say in nature? Oh, I said wrought iron by nature.
In nature.
Is the reason why that's so hard to get hold of these days is because of deforestation?
That sparks like wrought iron. Mild steel, wrought iron. Woo! Now I've got the acid out because we should see something. Oh, we're gonna see something indeed. That is wrought iron through and through. How gorgeous is that? The grain of the wrought iron is just so clear to see. This thing has been rolled out and forge welded and rolled out and forge welded. It's the real deal. What a bloody honor that I get to put this in the forge and play with it when this was a part of a castle just an hour down the road. This stuff had been destined for the scrapyard, so thank goodness they saved it. Look at that beautiful wrought iron. Look at those layers ripping apart. That is one of the downsides to wrought iron. It can come apart. Just like a welded Damascus billet. You're not careful, the welds aren't quite right, it can come apart. Currently, the seam is running in this direction. If we were properly following the Portuguese method from 1718 that we read about in Peter Smithhurst's book, in order to turn this into the scalp for a barrel, I need to forge this out not like this, but like that. I need the grain to be running in this direction. It's gonna be hard to do given the tendency for it to delaminate, but I'm gonna try and forge it out with the grain oriented a la Portuguese. So, if the context previous wasn't enough, I took a chunk like this that has the grain running like that. We've flipped it over that way, so the grain is running like this, forged it out, and supposedly, once I get that thing bent, wrapped around into a tube, the grain will be oriented to be as resilient as possible to the hoop stresses that were applied if it were a barrel. Another look at this gorgeous material. Look at that grain. I did some research last night and I discovered that the last manufacturing of wrought iron was at Thomas Wolseley and Sons in the UK in 1975. Yeah, so from the other side, we can also see the grain. Kind of looks the same other side, I don't know. No matter what, looks pretty. All right, let's make some pipe. Not seeing any big cracks forming as we start to bend it. Ah! That ain't good. She's coming apart. Let's forge weld this thing. Now, when we did get our little bit of success with the mild steel, that was after forge welding it under the power hammer. which has the benefits of hitting much faster, and with the swaging dies, it just encapsulates everything very well. But I really want to be able to do this with a hand hammer. Given that we've got the raw time, which is hopefully better to weld, provided the gas forge gets hot enough, I want to be able to do it with a hand hammer. That is, goodness, that is like the point, isn't it? How would that work, Jamie? I don't know if now's the time to talk about this, but I've got some reason to believe that a small mandrel might be better for this, but it just doesn't make sense. Bloomin' reinventing the wheel over here. Look at that. Go, 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 go.
Ah, it's so nerve-wracking.
It does not look like it welded.
No chance. It's not welded at all.
See if we can help ourselves out a little bit with the iron mountain flux, eh? There is nothing stopping this from working other than me. Maybe a little bit. Definitely not at the end. The end is kaput. Try it without a mandrel. Might have done it, actually. I think the higher welding heat from not having the mandrel in there right at the beginning allowed that to weld. Now working in the middle here.
It's so hot it burns my fingies.
Wah! Whoa! It's looking pretty tight. Pretty closed up. Gonna flip it around, do this end. Hey, I think we've done it. Let me hope so, at least. Right, that was all done mandrel-less. No mandrel for the actual welding. It does mean that it's not very straight, or true, or round. Still lots to be done. So cool, this material is 150 plus years old. So since I forge welded this without a mandrel, I'm just kind of going around everything and just trying to make it a nice, consistent pipe. Very gently hitting it so that it's not kind of oblong or anything, and trying to make it straight because it was a bit curved. Then I'll hopefully be able to get the mandrel back in, and we can forge against the mandrel and really tidy it up and clean it up. Unless it is hiding something very problematic within. That is our best forge welded tube yet. We've got an inch of delamination. That's it. At least that's it from what we can see right now. Oh my goodness. It looks good. Straight away, first cut right next to the delamination. That looks like the ticket. Oh! Do the same on the other end.
Just a few millimeters of funkiness on the inside, which I'm not worried about because this would have to be bored to final dimension. But you can see the grain flowing around. I'm going to grind this and etch it. You can see the exact angle of the forge weld, the grain going all the way around the circumference.
Never been so happy to see a pipe in my life. So with our wrought iron, we are almost twice as successful as with our mild steel. And that was with a hand hammer, not the power hammer. Bloody good news. Thank you to all of you that suggested it would really be worth trying wrought iron, especially David Williams, who's been a great help behind the scenes on this. But this is not over, because the Portuguese method doesn't stop here. Let's have a look. As described in Espingarda Perfeita, the short tubes that we've made then get flared, one end beveled, and then assembled and forge welded together into a longer one. And that's how they made something capable of hitting a little bit more than a barn door at 10 yards. Forge welding two tubes together to make them into a longer tube. That's what I want to do, but of course, the next tube still needs to be wrought iron, because we love it. Thank goodness. We are getting this technique. Oh,
You 2 for 2.
2 for 2, baby. The more you do, the better you get. This went even quicker and smoother than this morning's attempt. I welded from one end, flipped it over, welded from the other end, then finally got to the middle, and I have full weld all the way to the end.
I'm not gonna have to cut off the inch that we cut off on that one. It's good the whole way as far as I can tell.
So now what we've got to do is
I will just grind off the ends. We'll test etch it, make sure it looks good.
there's nothing hiding under there.
And then we've got to figure out how we prep it.
Before we weld it onto this morning's tube. While that cools down, I think it's time to celebrate. Celebrate and rehydrate. It's my favorite drink, and it doesn't get better than drinking it when I'm bloody dripping in sweat. Oh my goodness, it's bloody delicious. It hits the spot. See, when you're sweating, you're not just losing water. So being hydrated isn't just about drinking as much water as possible. It's also about making sure that you've got the right amount of electrolytes in your sodium, magnesium, potassium. And our sponsor, Element, is an electrolyte drink mix with scientifically backed formulation, way more sodium than most of the sports drinks you get off the shelf, and so much more practical. Element isn't just a feature of my life here in the workshop when I'm hot and sweaty, but it's also a consistent feature outside of the workshop in my life. As you know, I love getting into the mountains. I love climbing, hiking, running, and getting a sweat on. And I make sure to not go anywhere without a stick of Element to rehydrate on the go. And best of all, you can get a free sample pack with any purchase by going to drinklmnt.com/forge using code FORGE at checkout, which means instead of getting 30 sticks, you'll get 38. Right, let's have a look inside this thing. Final test etch. Overlap where it didn't like to weld on that end. But that end is as close to perfect as I can possibly imagine. Glee. I'm very gleeful right now. I've never been so happy. Never. There was that one time.
I'm trying to work out if there is a kind of a back to front on this flaring and chamfering arrangement. I'm not certain there is, but I definitely feel like there's a back to front on this tube because, as you'll see, it's a larger diameter here than there, which isn't the end of the world. Because obviously an actual barrel would have a taper to the outside diameter. Question is, does this get the flare and that the chamfer, or this the flare and that the chamfer? Given that any projectile would be going this way, if there was any sort of weld flaw, you would want it to not be a snagging weld flaw, but one that a projectile would push back in. And so I think it follows that this should get the chamfer, that should get the flare. I'm gonna heat this up and we're gonna try and flare it.
This feeling is all the sweeter for all the failures that it took us to get to this point. The plan for the flaring is we're gonna use this beautiful pointy horn on my steel anvil, now discontinued unfortunately.
Go ahead and hammer a little flare on there very gently. It doesn't need to get super wide. The inside diameter at the widest part of the flare just needs to be ever so slightly wider than the outside diameter of the bar we're inserting into it. So that's why I'm now switching to a cross peen, so we get more of a longitudinal distortion as opposed to a lateral distortion that the horn of the anvil and our rounding hammer was providing otherwise. Hell, it cracked again. My flare has become a chamfer. It's opened again. Success. Yay. Let that cool down. And over here, in the vise.
Why not do it on the grinder?
Well, Jamie, the year is 1718.
I've seen you go in the grinding room about 10 times today.
Oh, no, I haven't ground anything with a machine today. What are you talking about? No, I've done everything authentic, even using authentic 1700s Portuguese propane. See? Calore. Anyway, I'm gonna file a nice chamfer here so it fits. Sometimes there's what your mind thinks the part needs to look like, and it has nothing to do with reality. That's awful. Not even close.
wonder if I can drive this in it to get it the right size. Or it might just split the weld right open. Who knows? This is definitely the technique. That is it! Look at that! Perfect!
That is just what I want. I'm gonna clean up that bore, because there's so much nasty scale in there. Clean it up real good, clean it up real good. Prepare to forge weld.
Cleaned her up, still fits fabulously. I wish I could just go put a little tiny TIG weld on it, just so I hold it together before it goes in the fire. That would be pushing it though, wouldn't it? Ready? 3, 2, 1. Push.
Yeah, that went utterly awfully.
I'm actually thinking what I'm gonna do, shove this thing inside it, come here, and then yeah, ask you to push and like follow my lead on twisting while I hammer. Push. Ah! Lift up. Ah, it's so hot! My hand! Ah, it's awful! Oh, God, the radiant heat, mate. Oh, that's a different world. The heat that hits the back of the hammer hand, unbelievable. Come on, baby. Oh, it's happening, Jamie. I think we're doing it. That was a much better welding heat. Smaller hammer allows me to get further away from it. Go on! Yeah! Oh yes, the inside looks good and all. Have a look in there, Jamie. It looks bloomin' consistent. That's nutty. Switch to the anvil so I could get a little bit of a longer forging time to forge down that bulge, because this flat face will conduct less heat than the swage. Look at that, that seam is almost invisible. I'm bloody chuffed to bits, let me tell you what. All right, I need to get some more scale off of this.
Not very 18th century, is it?
No, it's not, but they probably would have had an apprentice to be able to chip off the scale for them by hand. Nice, rough stuff off. Couple more heats of finally cleaning it up. I cannot believe how round and how straight that looks. It's a forged tube and it looks phenomenal. Little touch mark. We've bloody done it. We have made 2 laterally oriented scalps. Forge welded them into 2 separate tubes and then forge welded those 2 wrought iron tubes into 1. I am just so pumped. Who knows how long it has been since anybody has had to do that? Remember, part of why this is so interesting to me, why it gets me so excited, is before this stuff, before barrel tubes, iron pipe did not exist. It is so easy to take this stuff for granted, and these are the hard-won techniques that the smiths of old had to figure out. And I feel immensely privileged to have the time to play with these techniques. And it's not far off, really straight and really round, which blows my mind. Having forged a barrel in the Portuguese assembly style, the next thing that I would like to do is forge a barrel in the colonial style. We're going to forge out the whole thing, weld the whole thing together, and make a tube that's even longer. Thank you for letting me get so obsessed about this stuff. Small reminder, we're not making an actual barrel, we're making steel tubes, just like what I can get off the steel rack, but the techniques are what fascinate me. Please, go get yourself some Element, today's sponsor. It's amazing at drinklmnt.com/forge. Bloody hell, I'm having so much fun. Thank you. Bye-bye.